Welcome to the Oh Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going, Dan? Double feature day?
Double feature, yeah. August 6th, 2021. When you hear this episode, Oh Brother podcast, we are going to be doing a review of A Quiet Place 1 and 2. Before we get into that, though, a little business up front. If you are not currently following us, make sure that you do. And to find all things Oh Brother, the easiest way to do that is to go to our official website, which is you know it, B as in brother podcast.com. That's ohbpodcast.com. You can find access, you can get access to all of our social media. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos out there. We've got a blog that we put out, which actually ties in a little bit to this episode because the recent blog sort of, hey, we're going back to the theater. Wait a minute, not so fast.
Right.
And so you want to give a quick little gist of what that latest blog is about?
Yeah, basically the numbers were shooting up. People were going to the theater. I saw A Quiet Place 2 in the theater. Opening night, it looked jammed. And then all of a sudden, it's coming back. A lot of people not getting vaccinated is causing the rates to go up. I've been sick the last couple of days,
Yeah, it's been a quiet place around Oh Brother Studios.
Yeah,
actually.
And as bad as I felt, I'm thinking these people who haven't been vaccinated are in the hospital, and it's got to be awfully painful. And I just wish people would forget the politics and.
Well, and even those that are vaccinated are at a bit of a risk with this Delta variant. So it's kind of scary.
It is, although the risk of dying.
Well, it's certainly much less.
Is extreme.
It's very low.
It's night and day. So.
Yeah, it is. But well, let's transition away from that. Speaking of scary, we're talking now.
I know I have Contagion. Which, I'm thinking, what should I put up there? Contagion probably wasn't the right choice.
not the greatest choice. So this is interesting because you have been hounding me for weeks now. You've also been mentioning this on the show. You've been talking a lot about A Quiet Place 2, and gotta watch Quiet Place 2. Gotta watch, and I told you on the last episode, it's just a matter of me carving out the time. So finally, out of nowhere, out of left field, didn't even tell you. Not only did I watch A Quiet Place, but then I had seen A Quiet Place too. So,
right. And it was one of those that I started slow, like, I saw A Quiet Place on opening night, and it'd be a good one because it's, and then I just said, forget the pretense. Dan, you got to see this movie. You got to see it's the best movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, so we want to take it back to the original, which came out April 6, 2018. And of course, this is directed by John Krasinski, also stars Krasinski along with his wife, Emily Blunt. And the cast remains pretty much the same. It's Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmonds, who's actually
the deaf girl.
Deaf actress, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Noah, I don't know if his last name is Jupe. I'm going to say Noah Jupe. He plays the older of the two kids, or the two sons, I should say. And then Cade Woodward is the youngest son who's in the original A Quiet Place. Mm-hmm. So let's, as we always do, pass over to you just to give it kind of set up what the premise of the film is.
So the movie starts, chaos is already happening. We're not quite sure what's going on. The family is out scavenging in a pharmacy. I think it's like one of those mini marts that has a pharmacy.
Yeah, in a little small town, Main Street.
Small town. And they're, basically looking for medicine. But the kids, especially the younger kid, picks up a toy.
The rocket ship.
Space shuttle. Yeah. It's like a space shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
And instantly Krasinski, who's the dad, grabs it from him and says, no, 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 no.
Now make a point there. You said he grabs him and says, but there's a lot of American Sign Language, right?
Yes.
They're speaking in sign language.
Right. And most of the family knows at least some sign language because of the daughter, which makes the whole thing pretty interesting
Mm-hmm.
because they can't speak. It just makes it even quieter. So the daughter sees the young one still eyeballing the spaceship, and they get their supplies. However, the little boy, without anybody noticing, goes back and grabs the batteries. So we don't know why that's significant until 5 minutes from now.
Right.
So they're walking on these paths.
And we should say, spoiler alert, not so much for the first. We got to assume most people have seen the original at least.
But
just in case,
both.
well, I hadn't seen it. So
right.
Just in case, spoiler alert coming up.
So yeah, this is a big spoiler, which it's a minute in, or 5 minutes in. So first 5 minutes, I always like, those are freebies.
Yeah.
So they're walking a path to go back to wherever they hide out. But as they're on their walk, the youngest one falls back a little bit and he starts putting the batteries in. And he puts the batteries in, and the spaceship goes off, like with lights and sounds, and everybody freaks out. And that's when we realize that aliens have now come to the planet and they are attracted to sound. So if you make sound, they come out of nowhere. And sure enough, in the first 5 minutes,
they weren't messing around. Krasinski wasn't messing around. Yeah.
They take out the youngest.
Right.
And it's a horrific way to start the film.
It was really, we talked about the silence and the sign language and everything, and the way that he uses that, where the audio of the film just goes silent. It's kind of juxtaposed between, turn like a switch on and off.
Yes.
So from when you get the point of view of the daughter who's deaf,
mm-hmm.
total silence.
Yes.
And yet there's all this chaos going around, or going on around her, and it just makes it so intense.
And we're close to this personally because our mother is virtually without. She has one hearing aid. She's deaf in one ear. And if she takes the hearing aid out, she's completely deaf. And I can stand behind her and scream as loud as I can scream, and she hears nothing.
Yeah.
So there's a personal aspect that we kind of see too. But so I'm going to jump ahead all the way to the second one.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we can kind of break it down.
And I do want to point out that Krasinski didn't write the first one, but he writes the second one. And the second one is pure brilliance. But the second one takes it to a whole new level. And what happens is we go back in time. We don't know that. The movie starts brilliantly on that main street you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Same main street that the pharmacy is there. And the lights just squeaking.
The stoplights.
Yeah, we assume that the place is deserted. We don't know what's happened to anybody. We figure the place is wiped out. I had no idea where they were going to take this story. And then all of a sudden, a truck pulls up, we hear noise, and again it's silence except for the sound of the stoplight screeching back and forth.
Yeah, then Krasinski zooms in with his pickup truck.
Zooms in with his pickup truck.
Right.
And with his daughter, they go into the pharmacy again to get some supplies to go to the baseball game that the whole town is at.
Yeah,
that's why it's so crowded.
And their son is playing.
Back in time.
Right. So the first film, clarify, the first film starts, comes up on the screen, day 89.
Correct.
Whereas the sequel starts with day one,
Day one.
right?
Brilliant. Brilliant the way it's done, because you don't think it's day one until you see the truck pull up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other reasons, but I'm not going to give that away.
Yeah.
But there's other reasons you figure out why this is day one. And then we get to see how the whole thing started. And it reminds me, I kept saying to you, this is like Alien and Aliens. Alien wasn't a lot of monsters. It was more tense, more kind of brainy. The second Aliens, once the action starts, it doesn't stop. Same with this. When the action starts, we all of a sudden see something crashing to Earth.
Spoiler alert.
Which is obviously these aliens. Day one begins, and they all it's an incredible sequence, is all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes dark, and then it's day 379, something like that.
Yeah, it's right. So then we pick up, and that's really no more than a 10-minute sequence, I'd say. And then we pick up right where the first one left off.
Yes.
So,
well, not right when it left off, because she was pregnant.
No, it picks up right where it left.
Did she have the baby in the first one?
Yeah, because they're in the basement, and the son's holding the baby.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The first one ends with she cocks the shotgun.
That's right. That's right.
Which normally would be a very tacky move, but Emily Blunt just pulls that off. Like it was so badass.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're dealing with a post-apocalyptic world, but these creatures, as you described, who are attracted by sound.
Yes.
And we should say that Krasinski, it's motion capture with Krasinski in one of those suits.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was him. Yeah, he was the figure.
He was the alien.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but the first thing that hits you is the tension.
In the second one,
both.
I know. And I got to tell you, the second one, I don't think I've ever had my heart in my throat that long for any movie ever.
Yeah. Now, I got to just say that I liked the first one better.
Really?
I liked the first one better. And I watched I've seen the first one twice now.
Yeah.
And I do believe it's a better film. I think what happens is the second one suffers a little bit from it's not really bad, but I feel as though they were going down the road where they're using a lot of tropes. The things you expect in a horror film. Like, for example, this doesn't really give anything away, but when there's impending doom and a character's about to bite it, and then all of a sudden someone comes to the rescue that was probably miles away in this particular scene. Like those kind of things, I struggled with that a little bit. I think what I liked most about the sequel, though, was the way they paralleled some of the sequences.
That's what I was going to say. It had to be written and directed by the same person.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying, the tension is building behind door one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're really tense. And all of a sudden, door one's supposed to open, and we're going to get the shock, and it's door two that opens. And it totally blows our mind. And we're taken from one place to another like that.
I just think, okay, first of all, the second one, now we should say Cillian Murphy is a star of the second one too, who
is a great actor.
He's a great actor. And he was
Scarecrow.
Yeah, Scarecrow, right.
In Batman.
And he was really good in this. It was a great opening. I love that opening. That whole, sort of going back in two.
Yes.
How we got there. That was great sort of, right. But oh my God, the son was so annoying in the second film. He was so like, this is the wimpiest character I've
Yeah.
ever. I know, I get he's a young kid, and I would be scared. Yeah, I have the bejesus scared out of me as well. But oh my God, this kid, like every little thing.
But
Even the mom, even Emily Blunt, a few times is like, calm down, take a breath.
well, I wanted to bring that up because we both played Little League. And you know what it's like when you get up to bat and you got a kid that all of a sudden can throw the ball 85, 90
Well,
miles.
what's interesting about that? Yeah, that like they really focused on this, which was
Yes.
he clearly had trepidation about stepping up to the
Yes.
plate.
He had anxiety issues.
Yeah, and it was weird because I was like, geez, this happened to me when I was in Little League
Yeah,
because I
me
got hit in
too.
the face
Yeah. Yeah.
when I was pitching. And then when I would go up to bat, I just all from then on, I was always sort of fearful of getting hit in the face.
Right.
And so I related to that piece quite a bit. And
Right. Because Emily Blunt from a distance is like, breathe.
yeah,
Breathe.
relax.
And she's like, calm down.
They're trying to
it's
talk him through
okay."
it, right?
Right.
But I
And
feel like she's trying to do that through the whole film. It's like,
yeah. Although he did, he did come through in his times of need.
I just have so much more to say about the first one that I think is just
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, there's a quote somewhere, I think, from Krasinski where he talks about, the scares, the horror,
Mhm.
if it's done well, is really in the background.
Mhm.
It's not out in your face. And he absolutely captures that in the first one. Again, just the whole concept of them not being able to speak
Mhm.
and keeping quiet, and the way that adds to the building of the tension. The acting is incredible. And what I found was I was more engaged with the story of their relationships and how they were surviving in this world as a family,
Mhm.
and the dynamic between the father and the daughter, between Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, who everybody knows are an actual couple and
Right.
have a couple of kids. There's a scene in the first one that is just beautiful where she comes down, he's down in the basement working on some hearing aids. He's trying to improve the capability of the daughter's hearing aids. And Emily Blunt
Yes.
comes down.
Great foreshadowing.
Great foreshadowing. And Emily Blunt comes down and they have this really romantic moment where they're dancing and she's wearing earphones.
Mhm.
And she takes one out and she puts it in his ear. And as she's doing that, you start to hear Neil Young's Harvest Moon playing. I mean, it's just such a
great.
beautiful scene.
It was great. For me, I think they're very different films. And if you I mean the tension in the second, I do have one issue with the second one. Just
What's that?
one.
Yeah.
And it's the ending. The
Mhm.
way it ends, I think, is a little too similar to the way the first one ends. It ends with
Mhm.
the same kind of, I don't know, I don't know what to call it. They're just too similar for me.
Yeah. And it's clearly setting up Quiet Place 3.
I would
I would say. Well,
assume, and
looking at the money that these have made, absolutely. I mean, the first one, this is incredible. So the first one, the budget was 17 million.
yeah,
It's gross worldwide 350 plus $1 million.
I'm not surprised. You can tell it's a small budget movie because
the
you don't
second
see
one,
the alien.
the second one's already almost grossed 300 million itself.
Yes.
It's incredible.
And I think it's the highest grossing film. Well, actually, if you count worldwide receipts, I think F5 is one, Black
Mhm.
Widow is two, and then Quiet
Oh, you mean
Place two.
F9? You're talking about?
What did I say? F2?
You said F5.
Oh, F5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're taking
nine
us
of
way
them.
back. You probably where you wished it had stopped, I
Yeah,
suppose.
and I hope that's the thing. I mean, these two movies, it reminds me of Alien and Aliens so much. I don't want Aliens 3.
Right.
I don't
right.
want them to
Just-
ruin this.
Yeah, yeah, and it's now the Rotten Tomatoes scores for the first one are 96%, the critics, 83% the audience. Sequel, 91% critics, 92% the audience.
Yeah,
So
not surprised.
somewhat similar. But now Krasinski has a few other directing credits to his name, but nothing that really
Yeah,
resonates
what
to
are
the
the
level.
other credits he
One of them
has?
is, oh God, I have to look it up
I
again.
assume
He did a couple of episodes of The Office.
that's okay. And I assumed he did an episode or two of the show that he's doing on the Clancy show that he's doing on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
Jack Ryan.
no, he did a film in 2016 called The Hollers that I'm not familiar with.
Is that a horror movie too?
No, no, and I think he's in that as well. And then it's A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place too.
Yeah.
The very first thing was it's something called Brief Interviews with Hideous Men in 2009. I don't know what that is, but what I liked about just the first one, because that's where it's, we were first introduced to it, but the slow reveal of the creatures, like he built that up. He didn't sort of come right out and give it to us.
And we didn't see much of the creatures.
No, and I love that. I thought that was great. I thought that was great. And again, the way he uses the silence, there's a few shots where the daughter is, because again, she's deaf. And so we can hear and see the danger, but she has no idea what's going on around her. It just makes it so intense.
And there's a scene in the second one that goes back, that harps back to the first one. Again, they did some brilliant, they used the same sets. They did some brilliant stuff where Emily Blunt, they built a crib for the baby. And I won't say more, but
like a portable crib.
And she's walking down the steps to go back to that place where they hung out. And they had put nails.
I was just about to mention this.
As traps in case the beasts tried to come down, they would step on a nail. So you see her foot just miss the nail, but then you see like a piece of foot of one of the aliens. I thought that was pretty good.
But but of course she does step on the nail.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. See, I think you're confusing it.
Yeah, there's twice she
steps on the nail.
She steps on the nail, I think, in the first one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And now, so if that isn't bad enough, because it's like, oh God, she's got to be quiet.
Right.
But then she gives birth.
Yes.
She gives birth during this. I mean,
I kept thinking of that.
Women power. I
kept thinking that the whole time.
She's like biting her hand. It was just, and of course,
Krasinski's right there with her, well,
no, Krasinski is telling the son, because what you find out, again, another reveal, there's a scene between he and the son where they go off to, I think, get some fish from the stream. And that's where we learn, if there's a louder sound than the sound you're making, the creatures will be attracted to that. So it's a way to sort of incorporate deception.
Right. And he takes his son to a waterfall.
That's right.
And he screams. And he shows his son, go ahead, scream. It's okay. It's safe.
That was very, very cool.
It was a great scene.
And so later on, when she's giving birth in this tub in the house, he tells the son, I need you to make a loud sound. And, your mom needs you. And he says, rocket.
Yes.
And then we find out he goes and he lights this fuse that sets off these fireworks.
Bunch of fireworks.
And while the fireworks are going, Krasinski's running through the cornfield or whatever with a shotgun. I mean, the shots are just so masterfully done. So nice.
And like you said, the second movie, the parallel scenes, how they accomplished that in editing, to me, was absolutely phenomenal.
I did like that. I thought that was pretty nice. And
it was just seamless to me.
Now, to me, I feel like the films are summed up with this line that Emily Blunt says, and this is shortly after they lose their son in the original,
Mhm.
where she says, "Who are we if we can't protect them?" Because
Yeah.
she's reflecting back and she's got regrets, and she's like, my hands were free. I could have carried him and this would
Mhm.
have never happened. And Krasinski's like, you
Mhm.
have to stop blaming yourself or whatever.
Mhm.
But to me, that really, I wondered if as a parent and as parents now together, if that was a theme that he was really trying to get across, from parents, because, and I've heard, Bruce Springsteen talk about, who anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge fan of his. And we talked about him in the last episode with Pig, because the movie ends with a
The
cover
ends,
of his
yeah.
I'm on Fire. I remember him in concert one time talking about, I think it's actually from his Broadway show, where no, this is way back, actually, one of his solo tours, where he talks about the fact that, as a parent, there's nothing you wouldn't do for your kids to keep them safe, but you recognize at a certain point, it doesn't really matter what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They're
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 gonna
all
do
they're all and they're always going to be vulnerable to a certain extent.
right.
So that
Right.
I thought that was a really powerful line.
And you can't get overprotective,
Right.
because then kids tend to resent that. And
Which you could see in the fact that the way that, like, Emily Blunt was trying to teach the son, you need to do these
yes.
things,
Yes.
because when I'm old and gray, and some beautiful
Yeah, she
scenes.
actually said that.
And she says, when I have no teeth. And, remember we talked about Nomadland with Frances McDormand, and how she's an actress who just can strip it all away
Yeah.
and does not care, puts herself out there, totally vulnerable on screen. And I really got that from Emily Blunt in the first one. She
Mhm.
just, she's obviously one of the top actresses in Hollywood,
Mhm.
but in the original, she just very stripped down.
Yeah.
And
No
and
makeup.
it really brings forward the power of the acting.
Yeah.
you know
I you know, I, the kid being a little bit
Whew.
anxious.
Oh my gosh,
What do you?
he just was really, he grated on me in the
That
city.
didn't bother me too much.
What was
And
weird too?
forget about stepping on a nail. There's
I know,
something much
which
worse.
was so annoying, because it was, I mean, I know we would have all reacted the same way. Again, spoiler alert, he gets his leg caught in a bear trap, basically.
I wasn't gonna say it,
It
but
was brutal. It was really brutal. So I mean,
and did you notice? And this is so true.
mm,
It's more true with little kids. When
it's
he
like,
steps on that bear trap, there's a moment where it doesn't hit him yet. He realizes it, but then it's a very slight delay until he then all of a sudden is like, just
well, the same thing plays out twice in the original, which is when Emily Blunt is given birth in the tub. As
yeah,
soon as the sun sets off the fireworks, there's just brilliant shot, like this aerial shot above her in the tub, where she just looks up, and it's like Pacino at the end of Godfather 3.
mhm,
She's just waiting, and then she just lets out this blood curdling scream
mhm,
because of the pain. And then, of course, towards the end of the film, again, spoiler alert, but Krasinski sacrifices himself to save his kids. And it's such a beautiful, intense, and scary moment,
mm.
where he uses sign language to tell the daughter, I love you. I've always loved
I've
you. It was like,
always loved
oh
you.
my God, man, rip my heart out.
Yeah.
It was so good, man.
I mean, honestly, the tension. Have you ever been more tense?
The building of tension was really genius in both of
Yeah.
these films. It really was.
And
Go ahead.
when you told me you watched both,
Mhm.
and I had talked to you earlier in the day, and we were coming up with an episode, and I really didn't like the episode we had planned.
Mhm.
And I said, Dan, just watch 10 minutes.
Right.
Give it 10 minutes, and I think you'll be okay. So when you told me you watched both, which I had seen the first one a while ago, and then I saw the second one opening night, And then I wanted to go back and watch the first one again
Mm-hmm.
because it was so good.
Yeah.
That's rare for me. That's so rare.
Yeah, it was interesting because we're a few months away from actually doing the second annual Oh Brother Halloween Fest. So this
Yes.
would have been, but it couldn't wait. You've been, like I said, you've been hounding me to
And if
see these films.
the movie had been delayed for a long time
Yeah, yeah,
because
exactly.
they had the movie ready, I think, almost a year prior.
Now I'm not going to say it correct. Dijamon Hunsu. I know I'm butchering his name. The African American actor
Mhm.
who's in the
That's
sequel.
in a lot of he's in a
He-
lot of things.
and most people would know him from Amistad. He was
Yes,
amazing in that.
he was the prisoner.
Talk about ripping your heart out. But not a huge part in the sequel, but he's just such an incredible actor.
Yeah.
Whenever he's on screen, he's really captivating. So I really enjoyed that as well. And Cillian Murphy really was great in this. He played off the daughter quite well. Well, it's 2 thumbs up, I think, for both these films. But I'm going on record to say the first one, it's definitely a better movie, folks, than
And
the sequel.
I'm going on record with the second one.
Yeah.
I've never had my heart in my throat that long and done that well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just Emily Blunt giving birth in the first one. I mean, to me,
They're both. I mean,
enough said. Yeah.
but
Would
what
you-
are they going to do? What are they going to do now? Because they're going to ruin it.
Yeah, I think they'd ruin it. I agree with you. They stop here. He's made 2 solid films he can be proud of. He's making all kinds of bank on this.
Yeah.
No need for a third one. Just let it go, man. Let it go. Walk away, dude. But I know what they'll do. They'll take it will be just a total focus on the daughter.
Or it's going to be, you're not going to do it, John. We're going to get Sam.
Oh God,
Krasinski,
please don't. Sam Krasinski.
and he's going to direct
Jimmy
it.
Krasinski. And of course, Krasinski from our neck of the woods. He's
right. He's a Boston boy.
He's a Newton, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So
we got another one to be proud of. We got a movie coming up, Stillwater. We'll probably look at soon.
Another Bostonian.
Maybe in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, that's getting all kinds of rave reviews with Matt Damon.
Well, it's mixed now. It's kind of mixed now that it was getting huge reviews at the Cannes Film Festival, and it got a standing ovation. And now that it's coming to theaters, it's getting a little bit of mixed reaction.
Well, I'm looking forward to going to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to see that one. Well,
and did you notice with Black Widow, all of a sudden they came out and said Black Widow, that this is in my blog. All of a sudden, Black Widow mysteriously made 60 million on
well,
Disney
what I thought
Plus.
you were going to talk about was the recent headlines of Scarlett Johansson suing them over the streaming.
I didn't hear that.
We work hard to bring you these weekly episodes of Oh Brother, and Mike and I have both gone through some trials and tribulations over this last week. He's been down and out. I've been down and out for different reasons, but I've sent you about 4 articles.
Oh, did you? I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I've sent you some DMs on Instagram, and she's coming out suing because of it didn't get an exclusive theatrical release, and you talked about how looking for that box office dollar. Yeah,
I didn't know this then, and I guessed it, and I was right.
And you were right on. You were right on. So
it's a shame.
Yeah. So keep your eyes tuned for a next Oh Brother blog.
And then they're stupid enough to go out and say it made 60 million.
Yeah.
Well, then she's going to say, I get a taste of that 60 million.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So,
well, hopefully she'll find a way to pay her mortgage, because we wouldn't want her to fall on hard times.
No, and Colin Jost, how's he going to eat?
Exactly. Poor Colin Jost with that SNL money. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother podcast. It's been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you